Greetings and welcome to the Life Transformation Institute. Well, in this video, I would be discussing with you a very important book that I read about 3 to 4 months ago, but I didn't prepare any video at that point of time relating this book because I wanted to check the effectiveness of what has been taught in this book and what has been promoted in this book. So what I first did was I practically practiced about 70 to 80% of points of the main points that have been taught in this book, and then today I'm preparing this video for all of you so that you may get benefited from it. And the book that I would be discussing with you in this video is The Atomic Habits, written by James Clear. In this book, James Clear have discussed a very good framework through which we can embed good habits in our lives, and we can also, with that same model, molding it a bit, we can transform ourselves and remove bad habits from our routines. So this is a very important book, and practically since I have practiced 70 to 80% of the techniques that have been taught in this book, I can practically vouch for this book that it is the one which you must buy if you really want to embed some good habits in your life and if you really want to get rid of some bad habits from your life. This is the book that you must read, and this is the book which you must implement in your life. And in this video, I will not be discussing each and every point of this book because one video cannot be equivalent to the entire book that James Clear has written. What I would be doing is, he has discussed 4 important steps that you have to take in order to create a good habit in your life. And on the other hand, if you want to get rid of some bad habits from your life, from your routine, then you can also implement those 4 points framework that James Clear has discussed with you. And I will not be discussing each and every tip. What I have done is I have prepared a workbook for you, and in that workbook I have taken one important point from each of the 4 steps which you can practically implement in the next week. So what I want you to do is, I want you to listen this video very carefully and then click on the link appearing in the description below, and that link would take you to the habits workbook, and through which you would be practically working on one good habit that you want to adopt in your life. So this is a very exciting exercise, and without further ado, let's get started with the first step that James Clear has discussed in this book. How to create a good habit. The first and the foremost step that James Clear has discussed, and he advises everyone to follow it, is to make that habit obvious. That is, he states that you should be making that habit a compulsory thing, a mandatory thing that you must be doing in your daily routines. And for that, he discusses about 4 techniques that you can follow, out of which I am discussing only one, and that would be reflecting in your habits workbook that you would be getting by clicking on the link in the description. So the technique that I am discussing here is that of implementation intention. And in this technique, he states that if you want to adopt a good habit like reading a book, or for example adopting a habit of a morning walk, he states that if you really want to do that habit, you have to categorically state 3 important things. The first thing is what you want to do. The second thing is the time in which you want to perform that habit. And the third thing is the location in which you want to perform that habit. For example, if you want to make a habit of reading book, then you have to clearly state these 3 variables. You have to state that I want to read this particular book at this particular time, at this particular location, and that location can be your study room, it can be your drawing room, it can be the night time when you are on bed going to sleep. So what you have to do is, first of all, you have to make your habit obvious, and you have to make this habit mandatory on yourself, and that can be done very effectively by adopting this technique of implementation intention. you have to categorically state that I want to read book at 7 a.m. in the morning on my bed or in my study room. If you have made this intention, then your subconscious mind would be starting to work on that, and you might be skipping the habit in the first 2 or 3 days, but I can guarantee that after 4 to 5 days you would be seeing a drastic change in yourself, and you would be reading the book at that time. So in the worksheet, the first page relates to this habit of implementation intention, and in that I would want you to first select the habit that you want to adopt, and then I would want you to fill these 3 important variables, that is the habit, the time in which you want to perform this habit, and the location in which you want to perform this habit. Then in the second section of that worksheet, I have prepared for you a tracking table through which you would be tracking your progress, whether you have worked on that good habit at that particular time period and on that location or not. You would be tracking your progress for the next 2 to 3 weeks. So this is the first tip that I wanted to discuss with you. Well, the second step that James Clear has stated in his book to embed a good habit in your life is to make that habit attractive. There are many habits that we want to have in our lives, but somehow we start and then after few weeks we get off track. This is mainly due to the reason that we haven't made that habit attractive in our lives. And to make that habit attractive, James Clear has stated 3 important tips here, but the tip that I like the most is to join a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. He has stated 2 other general techniques, but this is the one I like the most, because if you get into the culture where that good habit is promoted and practiced, then you would be practically be more eager to work on that habit. If, for example, if you want to make a habit of morning walk, then you must join a group of friends who would be doing that activity with you in the morning. This would create an entire culture and an environment in which that good habit gets promoted. So whatever good habit you have decided for yourself, you should try to make it more attractive, and joining a culture in which that habit is promoted and practiced is a very good tool. Well, the third step that James Clear has discussed to embed a good habit in your routine and life is to make that habit easier for you to perform. And for that he has discussed about 5 important tips, but the most important tip that I think you must be following is to prime your environment. And in this he states that you should prepare your environment to make future actions for that good habit to be performed much easier. You should try to make your environment such a manner that that habit gets easier for you to perform. For example, if you have decided that you want to make a habit of reading book, then the book that you have decided to read should not be placed in your cupboard. It should be placed right on the table where you have decided to read that book. For example, if you have scheduled to read the book at night when you are going to sleep, or for example, if you have decided that you would be reading book in the morning once you have taken your breakfast, and you have decided that you would be reading that book in your study room, then that book should be placed on your study room. It should not be placed in your bookshelf or in your cupboard, so that it may be very difficult for you to grab that book from the place where it should be. So if you really want to embed a good habit in your life, you have to make it easier for you to perform. And this was just one example that I have told you. You can use this example for any good habit that you have decided for yourself. So if you really want to embed a good habit, this third step is also very critical, and you have to make that habit easier for you to perform. Well, the fourth and the final step that James Clear tells you and advises you to follow to embed a good habit is to make that habit satisfying. And in this he have discussed 4 tips, but the tip that I like the most is to use reinforcement. And in this he tells you to give yourself an immediate reward when you complete your habit. You can decide, for example, if I continuously read for 5 days consecutively on the schedule that I have decided, I would be giving myself a treat. And that can be anything, depending upon what you want and what you can afford. It can be just a tap on your back, but if you adopt this habit of rewarding yourself once you perform a good habit, you would be practically embedding that habit more deep in yourself. Practically, you would be, after a few weeks, you would be practically getting more motivated to perform those good habits in your life. So this is a very important exercise which you must be doing if you really want to embed a good habit. You must reward yourself with something once you perform that good habit. So these are the 4 steps that James Clear has discussed in this book. Atomic Habits have many other tips and techniques which you must practically follow in your life. And I have read this book, and I would be reading this book once again after a few months in order to embed more of these techniques in my life. And I hope that you would be grabbing this book and you would be reading it as well. All those exercises that I have prepared for you, you can download that worksheet by clicking on the link appearing in the description below. Just click that link and you would be going to a web page and you would be downloading that worksheet without giving any of your contact details and email addresses. Well, this was all from my side. I hope you have liked this video, and I really want you to work on this worksheet so that just try to adopt one good habit in your life this week, and try to fill out the worksheet every single day so that you may get used to tracking your progress with respect to that good habit that you want to do in your life. With this, I would conclude my today's video. I hope you have liked this video. I would really want you to subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook and LinkedIn channel for the Life Transformation Institute. Hope to see you next week. Thank you.